Okay, I will start now. Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending today. My name is Aina Rockanen, if you don't know already. I'm the marketing coordinator at Kendis, and we are also joined today by Justin Oki, who is in charge of sales and partnerships, and he will be doing the presentation in just a bit. Also, we have the Kendis support team here as usual, and they will be answering some questions for you virtually, and I'll explain how all that works in just a minute. First of all, we want to apologize for the delay on this webinar as it was supposed to occur last week, as you probably know, but thank you for your patience and we're glad you're here now. Today, as you know, we are sharing our new sprint reports release as well as some tips on sprint tracking in general. The recording of this session will be available afterwards. If you want to hit that next slide, thank you. On our website, in that events tab on top, if you click that, all the recordings of all our events will be there, as well as registration for new ones once we get all those decided. And speaking of that, our next clinic is going to be discussing the adoption of SAFE and Kendis with the United Fire Group, which is one of our customers, and that'll be a great discussion. We're doing that a little differently as we don't have the registration ready for you yet, and that date is to be announced. But keep an eye on your email because we will have updates about that coming up soon, as well as in terms of other events. We're excited about the SAFE Summit in Prague. We will be attending in May, so if any of you will be there, please stop by our booth. We're excited to see you all and we're excited to be there. So yes, I think that's all of my event news right now, pretty quick. And then I just have a few housekeeping things for you today. At the end of today, there will be an end survey, as we usually have, and today there's 3 questions. The first question will be asking if there's any other enhancements to sprint reports that you would like to see. So after the presentation, if there's anything you think that we missed, please just let us know. We're continually adding things to our sprint reports, and this isn't the final version. So please let us know if there's anything else you'd like to see. The second question will be a place to submit topics for these clinics. We always have that question on there, so please enter anything you'd like to see us present on, and we do look at those and base our topics on those, so we do appreciate that. And then lastly, there will be just a place for general feedback, so anything else you'd like to add, thanks in advance for that. And then in terms of questions, if you're new here, I'll just explain how we do questions. First of all, we'll have you hold any verbal questions that you have for our presenter, Justin, until the end, and then he'll prompt you to use that raise hand feature on your screen. Feel free to locate that right now. And then when you press that, we'll be able to unmute you, and then you can ask questions to him. And then if you have any more technical or detailed questions, you can ask those to our support team on the questions box on your screen, and they'll be answering those throughout the presentation virtually. So you can just add those anytime you would like. Yeah, I think that is all I have in terms of housekeeping. Now we do have a poll to start it off today, and I think Justin's here to say hi as well.
Hello.
I'm going to launch that poll. Hello, sir. Okay, so we have this poll launch. There we go. In your organization, what roles are responsible for providing sprint reports? And if you all could just vote for that real quick, we'll get started. Getting a couple votes rolling in. None for whoever wants to report so far, so that's looking good. No one's voting that last option. Okay. Anyone else getting their last vote in, and I'll close it. Nice. Okay, I'm gonna close it. Share results. So mostly Scrum Masters. Yeah, I think we predicted that, or did we?
Yes, exactly. It's so typically in organizations we see RTEs doing the sprint reports, and it's very kind of daunting factor, isn't it, when the RTEs are focusing on sprint reports as opposed to sort of helping coach the teams and coach the other organizational level management So it's actually fair, I think, to provide the sprint reports. But of course, the Scrum Masters just provide sprint reports for all of their teams. So then somebody somewhere needs to collate all of this information. So it's interesting. Thank you, I know.
Yeah, we close those.
Brilliant. Okay, so thank you. I know I will move on to the sprint tracking here in Kendis. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're located. Thank you for joining. Those of you that are listening live, and also if you're listening to this as a recorded session, hopefully we can succeed in showing you how to access and also improve your sprint reports using Kendis. As many of you existing customers will know, we do deliver iteratively, as I know said. So we learn as we go along from you, from the suggestions, from from every organization, of course, works in a different way. So it's great to see how organizations are actually using these functionalities, and then we make enhancements based on that. We have got a host of enhancements that we've already got at the moment for sprint reports, which I'll show you at the end. I'll mention later. So for those of you that attended the short roadmap click that we did, just for your information, we have covered the sprint reports and also the group by safe for the Jira users, which you've probably noticed on your board, but I'll mention that at the end. This is all about kind of helping organizations to actually track all of the contents of the PI. So this is part of the journey that we're doing. So the first one was obviously the sprint reports. Now, I just even hear myself, I'm calling it sprints all the time. I spoke to an SVC who told me for about 10 minutes why we should call it iterations, and I still wasn't convinced. If you guys use iterations or sprints, for us, that's the same. I will refer to it as sprints, so please forgive me if you call it iterations. So yeah, we've got we call it the sprint reports. I refer to it as sprint reports. What I would say is typically what happens is that we break down all of these features, and if you're lucky enough, the features have business value in them, but sometimes they actually don't. You need several features to actually have business values, and of course they could get split into stories into the teams, and they do all of their sprint cadences, and then we try and marry up the information. And in the agile world, when we talk about sprint reports, we generally talk about burn down or burn up charts. And of course, you can compare your plan versus delivery as well. And in Kendis, we do have that. So if I go over to Kendis, and you'll see it in the analytics, as well as in the smart reports here. So this is the burn down chart. This will be for the entire, if I just make this bigger, this will be for the entire program. You can filter by teams, you can filter by sprints as well, and you will get the plan versus actual. You can even click on these gray areas here to maybe you want to see what you planned in your PI planning versus what it is now, but you'll see the actual anyway of all of those. We've also got it in the smart reports as well. But in the Scrum of Scrums, another way of kind of tracking your sprinting Kendis is to go over to the Scrum of Scrums. And if you've set them up already, you'll be able to see the percentage of stories that are linked to a sprint by team. If you hover over it, then you'll see that information there by team. And of course, we'll give all of the progress updates in here as well, which, as many of you know, you can click on there and you can get the information. If you are new to Kendis, then we have got a clinic about Scrum and Scrum. So specifically about the Scrum and Scrums in that events tab on our website that I know was mentioned before. So please feel free to go over there and have a look and investigate it for yourself. But onto the sprint reports. one thing that I have to mention, if you go into the edit board settings under the iterations tab, what you'll see is enable auto start and end iteration tracking. Now, this is especially for the ADO users, as your DevOps users, because at the moment in ADO, they don't have the ability to start and stop sprint automatically in ADO. So we have provided this, and of course, you can set which time zone and time that you would like to for all of the iterations to start on. So you can set that up in there. So that's a new addition, and that also will help your sprint tracking reports as well when you have that. Then if you go into the analytics and you look at the delivery by iterations, this is the only place that you'll find sprint reports at the moment. I know that's going to change, that you'll get it in different places, but at the moment it's just in here. So again, it was when I went into analytics, and it was a delivery by iterations. So when you open that up, you'll see that we've got two tabs. We've got program reports and we've got team progress. And of course, you can click on these two different tabs, but we'll start off here. Let me just enlarge this here. So on the left-hand side, we've got the features delivery in the iteration. So these are features that we thought that were going to be delivered in this sprint. So now we can show you actually, 50% of the features that were going to be delivered in this sprint, in this example, were done. And you can click on this information and get the features. And you can also, of course, filter by teams, I believe group by, and there's going to be more filters that are going to be added in here as well. But look, you can hover on all of this and actually get the information that you need for the specific one. It will give you an explanation. I think plan versus deliver, I think maybe is a straightforward one, but some of them get a bit more complicated, I guess. But if you hover over them, then you can get the actual numbers. And of course, you can click on all of the numbers here and get that data as well. You can even export them if you need to use them somewhere else as the Excel sheets. So these ones relate to the features that were planned versus delivered. And here we have the completion of all of the sprints combined. So all of the sprints combined, in this example, we had 15 features, and 20% of them, sorry, have been completed so far. So 3 out of 15 have been completed so far in the total number of features. And again, you can click on this information and get it and filter it how you need to. Going to the user stories, deliverables, we do it slightly different with the user stories, because you can see now that we will show user stories that have been shown as completed, so i.e. their statuses are done or resolved. And also we'll show you them by story points. So it really depends on how accurate, I guess, your story points are and how good your teams are at changing the statuses. And what we show here are, okay, so in this example, we've got 32 stories that are on our board, and 17 of them have been completed in this iteration. Again, I can click on that number and get them. With the story points, we show it exactly the same way. So in total, we have this many story points, and then of course, these are the ones that were completed in this iteration. 118 over 225, I think that's a dream for everyone. But yeah, so that's how that works. And of course, then you've got the percentage, the overall percentage. We also show some added information here. So this is, again, a Kendis only functionality, just because we thought it would help you kind of just highlight in this sprint report how well teams were doing. So you would be able to see the teams that delivered over 80%, and we will highlight the teams that delivered under 50%. So this is just to obviously give some teams, some kind of credit if they've done really well, and also assist those teams that probably maybe they're struggling, or maybe things aren't that clear in their ALM tool, whatever it may be. But we just wanted to highlight it here. At the moment, if you hover over it, it will show the teams, but there is an enhancement that you can click on this, and then you'll actually see the teams and so on. You'll see that we've got information boxes as well to try and explain what they are in relation to. So this is really for when you send the report out to other people, them just trying to sort of get their head around what the information is that they're looking at. I was going to say mainly for management, but I don't want to insult anybody who's on the call. This spillover, although it's showing 0 at the moment, the idea of it is because I'm in iteration 1, but if I was in another iteration and stories have moved across, then it will show it in the spillovers. And again, you'll be able to click in it and see the numbers. So we'll give you a percentage of the spillovers from the previous sprint. And the idea, of course, is to get the lowest amount of spillovers as you possibly can, depending on how you do your PI planning, of course. And scope changes, the scope changes, as you can imagine, are new stories that were created, where we show the percentage of scope change that has been in this sprint. And of course, we'll explain it. The objectives contribution, these are user stories that are linked with any objectives in this sprint. So if the stories are linked in this sprint for particular objectives, we will show which stories and we'll show the completion of them, and we'll also do it by story point. This again will be enhanced to actually show the objectives that we're discussing. There's enhancement that I will mention later as well. The dependencies, that's quite self-explanatory. So if we have dependencies in this sprint, the percentage of completion of those dependencies. And the message will change in accordance with your, how well you've done. I don't think we kind of get, if it's 100%, I don't think we'll kind of get, sparkles and fireworks going, but it's kind of, it will change color, and actually it will show you that you've hit 100%, but certainly the message will change anyway. Risk will show the impacted risks in the sprint. Again, this is going to be enhanced, I think, to show all of the risks that you have, so that you can kind of measure them a bit like this, where we show all of the sprints combined. You'll be able to see all of the risks that you have, all of the program risks, and how well you're doing. So that would be an enhancement, but at the moment, it just shows the impacted risks that are in your sprint. And impediments, this comes from your Scrum and Scrums. Those of you that are using Scrum and Scrums, any impediments that you have on the list, especially, because it will be linked to a sprint, then it will show you how well you're doing on breaking those impediments, getting those impediments. This here, we've got the notes section, and you can write whatever you would like to in this section, because it may be that, you would like, I was going to say excuses, it doesn't necessarily need to be excuses, but things of note. It may be that you want to talk about the status, or, if there was any kind of factor that you needed to add or remember when you've created this report. So you can actually just put in your notes in here. If you hover over lots of things, and you'll see the information. For example, you'll see when this report was generated, you'll see the date of the sprint, which is, by the way, crucial. You need to put the dates on the sprints. I see a lot of people they will just put iterations and not the dates. With the dates, then we can obviously start creating these reports for you, and then we can show you useful things along the line. Before I move into the team progress, let me show you the settings here. So on the right-hand side, we've got the report settings, we've got share report, regenerate report, and view old versions. When you show report settings, this is where you can filter based on car types. So in the additional car types, you can add your own car types, as most of you know, and then you'll be able to filter on the ones that you want to generate a report for. You can also filter on by story type. So if you want to just have a look at the stories rather than all of the bugs and everything else that's linked with it, then you can do so. And this part here, the report options, this is to turn on and off all of these. For example, if you're a company that doesn't use program risks in Kendis for whatever reason, you're able to just toggle that and switch it off. So that will not appear in the report. Hopefully you can see it at the bottom coming on and off. So that's what that is for. So that's under the report settings. Share reports, self-explanatory, I think, but at the moment it's just copying a URL and then of course being able to share that URL. We will enhance this to be able to create a PDF, and then you can send that PDF report to who you need to. Regenerate report. This is kind of so basically, as you know, when you start sending reports, people will say, okay, well, we've actually just closed our sprint now, or we've had to update a few stories late or whatever else. So you might need to regenerate the report. So that's what this is. It will just regenerate it and create another version. And then you're able to view all of the versions in here and view older versions. So that's it for that program report. For the team progress, so that second tab along, we'll have exactly the same reports in here, or the same settings, I should say, under there. But you'll see on the left-hand side, we've got the teams that are on your release trains, and then we have 7 columns here. What we do is per team, we will count the percentage of stories that they had. So this team here had 10 stories, and of course they completed 9 out of those 10 stories, and this is based on their status again. Here then on the right hand side in the same column, we have got the story points. So out of those 10 stories, there were 70 story points, 62 of which were done. So we can give a percentage based on that. And of course, that will be for all of the teams. So you can delve in as deep as you want to see it. You can even click on the stories and make sure that they're in the correct statuses, etc. The other column, so scope changes versus sprint start. That is, if there's the start of each sprint, there is a high likelihood, if we're honest, that the contents of the sprint are going to be different to what you planned. So what we do is we show scope changes at the start of the sprint, and then this one here relates to scope changes versus what was done in the PI planning. There's not too much difference on this demo board, unfortunately, but that's what they mean. One is at the sprint start, against the sprint start, and one is against what was done in the PI planning. Capacity and load, yeah, this is going to change, I believe, the layout of it, but on the left-hand side, you've got a capacity, on the right-hand side, you've got load. It's not a time, which is what I thought it looked like. But yeah, so you'll see the capacity and load for each teams, and of course, you'll see the dependencies specific to the teams, the risks, and the objectives, all specific to the teams. Okay, and again, you'll find it here, automatically, it will be generated for you. So in the analytics, delivery by iterations, you'll be able to click on them and it will automatically be generated for you. I did mention at the start that I was going to talk about this very briefly. So going back to the board, what we've got on the left-hand side, as your DevOps users, they've had this functionality for a while now, but in Jira, what you can do is group the features on the left-hand side by whatever Jira field type that you've kind of linked to Kendis. It just makes it a lot easier if you have, your features per team, for example. Then you can look per team all of the features. It's just a better way to kind of filter and sort it. So all of that is there for you now. I think that's it. As I mentioned, actually, we've got lots of enhancements for that sprint report. And of course, looking forward to seeing your suggestions too. I'll just put a few of them up here just so that you have some idea of what's coming up. So for example, the ones I'll talk about is I talked about the pop-up of the teams, showing the teams that delivered over 80 and under 50. I also talked about, well, I didn't, but the ability to include and exclude teams. It may be that you have some teams that are on your board that you don't really want to track in their sprint reports. For example, I'm sure people who work in Kanban teams, for example, will have a lot to say about providing them with sprint reports. So you may want to exclude them from the report. So that's coming. And when I say coming, it's coming in the next few weeks. So this isn't something that you have to wait months for, but these are all coming in the upcoming weeks as well. We want to show stories and features that were removed from the list. So even if they've been taken out of the PI, we still want to give you that information. In this sprint, X amount of features were removed from the PI. And quite crucially, regenerate report by team. So it could be just one or two teams that you need to regenerate for, and we don't want it to affect the whole report. So that's also going to be added. Okay, I think that's my time. I know.
Hello.
Hello.
We will take any questions, right?
Please take a swig of my
Yeah,
tea.
if anyone has any questions, go ahead and use that raise hand feature and we can unmute you. Give it a second to see if anyone. We had a few questions answered by support, I mean. But yeah, anyone have any questions? Go ahead and raise your hand. Here we go. I have one from CSH Health. I'm going to unmute you.
Thank you. I was having some technical difficulties getting in. I saw that it was recorded. Is the recording going to be available so I can catch the first part?
Yes, this will be available on our website, and then we'll also send in the follow-up email, there'll be a link to where you can view that recording as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, Melissa, I'm going to unmute you. 1 second. There we go.
Hi. So my question is, if the feature for the enable auto start and end sprint tracking, if we do not check that, then because like I have 11 teams, and I mean, like today is the start of a new sprint, but based on their planning, they may start their sprint different times throughout the day. So I guess my question is if I check it, when does the sprint start? Is it like at the end of the day today?
Have you got start and end dates on your boards, Melissa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Then
I have
actually,
start and end dates, right? But if it's like, so let's just say in your example, okay, iteration 4 starts April 10th. Is it first thing, on April 10th in the morning? Because I mean, some people don't complete planning until the afternoon.
yeah.
So they could be moving things out of their sprint.
Yes. Then actually it would generate automatically. You don't necessarily have to enable that. Have you got you've got Jira, have you?
Yes.
Yeah, so don't worry about that. It will just generate a report automatically based on these dates here.
Okay. Because we've been seeing issues where when the individual teams start their sprint, and let's say they're in sprint planning and they have stuff in a sprint, it's not active yet, but then they move it out based on the planning. And so when they start the sprint, it's moved out, but then when we're looking at the report in Kendis, under like analytics and get the committed load, it's still showing in there, which it really wasn't when they started their sprint. And I know we've talked with Shaq and he said that this should eliminate that.
Right, okay. I think so. Can you see the screen? I've got it very small, unfortunately, but let me enlarge
Yes,
it here.
I can see it.
Yeah, so where you can have it the day after the iteration start date.
Okay.
So, and it will be your local iteration start date, and then you can start the report from there. I think that would probably be the one that would help you guys out, right? Especially when, and as you can appreciate, if people are working in different time zones and everything else, why we'd need to sort of either say, you know, one time zone. If you don't enable it, then it would just automatically start by the webhook. So it would just, whenever any team sort of starts their sprint, then that's what it will be picked up from Jira, and then of course it will start automatically. So you should have it there, Melissa.
Okay. So then when I see this report, like view report, so if I go in it, say, let's just say every other day or whatever, do I need to like generate a new report, or is this the most current as of that day?
Yes, you will have to regenerate a new report at the moment. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries at all. Any other questions at all?
Not seeing any. Oh, just kidding. Here we are. Narmeen, I'm gonna unmute you. And then I think you need to unmute yourself and then you can talk. Yep, there you go.
This is probably a very basic question, and so if I should ask later, let me know. Can you go to your settings, the edit board settings?
Yes.
And I'm looking at features and stories are two different colors, but I see on the board that you have a bunch of different colors that kind of makes it a little bit easier to read. Right now, my board is showing everything the same color.
Yeah. So the different colors on the board are based on card types, what we call card types. So the blue ones, for example, I think they are the feature ones. But here, when you change a card type, then it would change the color. And if you go into the settings here, you see additional card types. And when you create a card type, then you know, for example, this is so if you want to track the difference between, you know, features, enablers, designs, whatever it is that you come up with in these additional card types, then you can assign a color to them. And the color it will be displayed on the board like this that you see. So these ones are enablers, for example, these are features and so on. This is a demo card. But in the analytics, you can have the analytics based on the card types as well.
Got it.
So it's not just the color, but it's the card types that you put in there.
So then on the board, I think what threw me off was the bottom left had that purple little box with the lightning bolt in it. I just assumed those were all epics, I think, because I've seen them be epics before. Yes. What does that lightning bolt mean? It is an epic.
So it is an epic, yeah. So in your Jira, it's still an epic. We don't change anything in Jira. We don't say, hey, this isn't actually a Jira epic. This is actually an enabler or whatever it may be. So we bring this in from your Jira, or if you've got, it's your DevOps. I don't know if they've got one, but certainly we'll bring it in from your ALM.
Okay. Well, that's nice.
Okay.
But we're using Azure DevOps, but it's okay. This is helpful. This is good.
Thank you. No worries at all. Any other questions at all?
Yeah, I have a couple. I'm gonna unmute Mats. I think you were first. I'm not 100, but yeah, Mats, I'm unmuting you.
Yeah, great. It was just a comment on this about the card types. So what you can do is that when you import your issues from Jira, you can import different card types based on different attributes on your issues in Jira. So for instance, we have a field where we state if it's an enabler or not, and based on if that field is used or not, we will create an enabler card or just a ordinary feature. So you can have a correspondence in Jira or the other underlying system, and then you can show them differently in Kendis.
I appreciate that. Thanks very much, Mats. Thank you.
Okay, and then CSH Health, you can unmute yourself and ask as well. Yeah.
I think you just kind of answered my question for you. Is not using Jira, but you can import and keep synced with these different additional card types based on your ALM's data, if you will. Okay. I think that's what I heard.
Thank you.
Again, I'm not using Jira, using Azure DevOps. So
no, so it is in Azure DevOps as well. So yeah.
What might you use in Azure DevOps just for that, if you don't mind? Like if you had a enabler type.
If you had an enabler type, then it would still, let me show you if I can go into it. My board's frozen for some reason on this board. If you had an enabler type, it will show, I don't know actually in Azure DevOps where it would be. Let me try and go into it and see if I can. Love these live calls. Here we go. Please open. There we go. So in Azure DevOps, we have of course, we have the icons, and then this, your name isn't CS Heath, but what can I call you?
that must be coming through as initials.
All right, okay. So look, if you have them in here, it will be obviously will show all of the linked items, but this would be, where is it? The part that you show the features in here. Is it the reason state? Let me look. I'm not too familiar with Azure DevOps. So in here, I guess would be the epic. And then yeah, this are you saying then you would have enablers as well?
There's different work item types, I guess, is the an opportunity there. Not epic and feature, but there are different work item types. So we'll have to play with that, I guess. So that's fine.
Yeah, please.
Bog down on ADO specific things.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Sure.
But we will show all the work item types anyway in Kendis that are linked with this feature. So that it will be epic rather.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, we have one more. I'm gonna unmute Jana or Jana. I don't know how to pronounce it, depending on where you're from. But yeah, if you unmute yourself, you can talk.
Hello.
Hello, Jana Jacobson? Jana? I don't know how to say it.
Jana.
Jana. Okay, yeah. If you unmute yourself, you can talk. There's like a double mute feature. Okay.
No, because you got her name wrong. I know.
I guess so. I don't know. Okay, well, any other questions? That's all I'm seeing.
All right. Well, I guess we'll call it, shall we, Anna?
Yeah, I guess so. Oh wait, here we go. I think she's on. Let's see.
You have a question? I was just wondering.
Oh, yep. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. I was looking at the settings for the cards, colors. My question is, what other settings needs to be enabled for that to reflect on the board? Assuming you're getting the settings that you want done from the board settings on the top right, and it's still not reflecting on your cards.
So do you mean these colors on the board here? Yeah.
Correct.
So these are the additional card types. So you need to actually change the features, because the example here would be that you've got the features in Jira, and then you've got the work items underneath them. So and the color relates to a card type. It might be that this feature that is in your Jira, you want to have it as you want to show the differences between enablers or designs or architectural work that needs to be done, whatever it may be, but you need to change them here to be able to change the color. And on the left-hand side here, in the additional card types, this is where you actually can select the card types that you would like. So whatever card types that make sense to your, to what you want to track or what you want to see on the program board, this is where you do it here in the additional card types part.
Okay, so in this case, we're using the default card, for example, features.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, will the settings on to the right-hand side of the board, will it do it? On the board side?
No, you need to do it in this part here, in the settings on the left-hand side to set them up, and then you'd need to change the relevant features to change the actual card type.
Okay.
So you go in here, you change the card type, and that's where you can do it per feature.
Okay.
All right. No worries.
Thank you.
Cool. I have one more question from CSH Health again. I will unmute them. Here we go.
Could you go over again for me the feature that you had around auto closing or starting sprints? As you already know, we're in ADO, which doesn't have that feature like Jira, so I was kind of interested in that. If you could give me a recap again, please.
Yeah, sure. This is a good one for you guys because it doesn't have it on ADO. So you can, it will just show empty, of course, when you go into this board setting situations. When you select it, this will drop down, and then you can choose which time zone that you want it to, automatically it'll be to your local one, but you can choose which time zone that you would want to be the default start and end. And then of course you can choose either the actual date that's on the iteration itself or the day after.
Okay. And the day after would be in a scenario where you're planning might be at the end of the day, so you don't pick up your changes in planning. Is that how you might use that?
Or if you've got teams in different locations. So for i.e., if you've got teams in Asia and you've got people in the US, there's obviously quite a big gap between there. So that's where we're trying to sort of help out on there.
Okay, thank you.
See, no worries. Any other questions at all? Did Jana come back?
No, that it was the last question. The name was just different than who was on the call, I guess.
All right. Okay.
But yeah, I think that is it for today. So I think we can wrap up if that's okay with you.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. And also there'll be a question at the end with all of the enhancements or any kind of advice, abuse, whatever it may be that you want to provide. But for me anyway, thank you very much for attending.
Yeah, go ahead and answer that survey. Thanks for being here today and keeping an eye on your email for our next event announcement. Yeah, thank you all. I'm gonna close it up now.
Thank you, Aino. Take care.
Bye.